All right, good morning, everyone. I'd like to have the call to order. We're here for the Governance, Administration, Operations Committee meeting. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thank you all. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. So moved. Any second? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Next, we have public comment on agenda items. This is for public comment on the agenda items specifically. Do we have anyone signed up to speak? No? Okay, is there anyone else in the audience present today who would wish to speak? Okay, I see none. All right, with that, we will move on to our committee action items. Item A is, let's see, I believe is Jeff here?
No, sir, Jeff is not here. He is on a family vacation in China. Yes.
Wow.
Caught everyone by surprise. His daughter is teaching China. This is the flu. English in China for a year. And so he and his family have gone over to visit her and survived the smog. And I have not received any emails yet. Has anybody? So he's been actually good about radio silence, which we found quite shocking.
That could be good or bad. Hopefully it's good. Yeah. Right.
But if anyone would figure it out, it would be Jeff. So we're looking forward to the picture. So in Jeff's absence, I think we will do a team effort. And Jeannie is here to speak to the item.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeannie.
We'll let you guys speak to that.
And
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, before Jeannie starts, I'd like to make a comment. I'm suggesting we change the wording of this because what we have is a motion authorizing the CEO to rescind your resolution. I think the board should rescind its own resolution and then authorize the CEO to enter into the contract. It's just the appropriate way for the board to act. I don't think you delegate the rescinding of your resolution. I've got language when we come to the motion to handle that.
That sounds great. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Smith. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Good morning, Board. I'm Jeannie Satchel, Director of Capital Projects and Grants. I'm here to discuss the item that was just described, seeking authorization for the board to rescind the resolution 260103 in the amount of $240,125 and execute a new joint participation agreement between the Department of Transportation and HART for an amount of $412,225. To explain what happened, we passed a resolution at the last board meeting for $240,125. Subsequent to the passing of that resolution, DOT informed us that the amount of the grant available to us for the 51X was increased to $412,225. We had a meeting with DOT and discussed how we would use the funds. Part of the funds will be used to purchase flex vehicles for the New Tampa Comprehensive Service, and the remaining amount will be used for operating assistance. So if you have any questions, I can answer them on this action item.
Thank you very much for the background information. Are there any questions regarding the action item? No? Okay. Mr. Smith?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend that the resolution read as follows. Begin with the words "to rescind." So it says, "To rescind resolution number 2016-01-03, any amount of $240,125, and then insert, authorize the Chief Executive Officer to execute a joint participation agreement," continuing with the language of the resolution. The other change is in section 1, which will start with resolution number 2016-01-03, and the amount of $240,125 is hereby rescinded, and the Chief Executive Officer is authorized to execute a joint participation agreement, et cetera. And I'll provide the language to Lena, so the resolution will read in that fashion.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. So considering the revised language, do I have a motion to advance this item to the board?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Smith, thank you for the clarifications. All right. Next on the agenda is item B. Mr. Seward is also was also going to be here to talk about this. It is the authorization to delegate contracting officer authority to a named employee in the procurement department in Mr. Seward's absence. Do we have anyone to speak to this?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Al Burns, Director of Procurement and Contracts Administration at HART. Basically, this authorization, we have a new employee by the name of Darlene Lawley. She's coming in as a procurement analyst, and this is to give her authorization to issue out purchase orders and to make small purchases. I reduced the amount to, I think, a minimal amount of no more than $3,000 until she has all the proper federally required training.
Move approval.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Burns. The motion carries. Item C, we have Ruthie here to speak to this. It is to authorize the Chief Executive Officer to purchase up to 15 40-foot compressed natural gas powered heavy-duty transit buses from Gillig LLC in an amount not to exceed $7,378,660.
Doesn't look like Ruthie.
Oh, and it is not Ruthie. Okay, you're definitely not Ruthie. Just I'd
lost
like to
hair.
go on the record. He is not Ruthie.
Jim Fetzer, Director of Maintenance at HART. We're here today seeking board authorization to purchase, the CEO to purchase up to 15 40-foot CNG-powered heavy-duty buses from Gillig Corporation in an amount not to exceed $7,378,660. Purchase is fully grant funded through Surface Transportation Program funding through the FTA. Buses are being purchased through a Florida consortium bid through the Florida Public Transit Association in conjunction with the transit properties across Orlando. The buses are being purchased to replace buses that we have that are 2002 model year buses that have outlived their useful life. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Move
Yes.
approval.
Mr. Jacob had a quick question.
Yeah, if I could, please. Is there a way we can see either photographs or specs of the buses? One of the things that I certainly am very passionate about is how do we take the next step forward in terms of both the service, the ability to provide service, and the kinds of equipment and vehicles we have that takes the next step into the future. As certainly as I've traveled around, and many of you have, there's a lot of different options out there at this point in time that are pushing forward technology, are pushing forward new vehicle design. And so I'd like to see what are we doing to at least take a look at those kinds of things. I know these are replacements. I understand that. And CNG is great, and we're taking those steps forwards in terms of our thoughtfulness and sustainability goals. But what can we do as part of our strategy moving forward to look at what is the next generation of buses? How do we upgrade, our look and feel for our customers and for the community itself? How are we going to take the next step and do that? Because there are certain options out there that we see in other places or that may be available. So that's really my question, is how do we take that next step? Is I know that being replacement, I get that, but is it possible for us to take a look at least photographs of this and some specs on it so we understand what we're purchasing and how we can answer those kinds of questions when people come to us with those things?
Director Jacob, we can supply photos with the weekly and then let us line something up for a future committee meeting that's an overview of the state of transit vehicles, what's out there as far as the cutting edge, and just what are some neat things that are popping up as we're doing replacements. So clearly, we replace an O2 vehicle with a vehicle 14. Potentially, when we take delivery, it'll be a 15-year younger vehicle. There's a lot that just by virtue of 15 years of technology is different. So let's get that back in a presentation. But again, this week, we'll get you out the photos to show what we're replacing in this action item and the next one.
Thank you.
Great. Are there any other questions?
Move approval.
Move approval. A second? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right. Nay? Okay. The motion carries. That is item, C. Agenda item D, authorize the Chief Executive Officer to purchase 13 compressed natural gas VPG MV1 special needs transit vehicles with mobility ramps from Creative Bus Sales Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $846,950. And sir, I believe you're here to present
Again,
on
Jim
that.
Fetzer with HART, Director of
you.
Maintenance.
Thank you, Jim.
Seeking board authorization for the CEO to purchase 13 CNG-powered MV1 vans. Again, the purchase is fully funded with FTA funding, 5307 formula funds. The vehicles are manufactured by Mobility Ventures in Mishawaka, Indiana, and they're being purchased through a transit research, inspection, and procurement contract grant called TRIPS. And the contract does meet all federal and state requirements. Vehicles will be replacements for existing vehicles that we have in our fleet currently. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Move approval.
Okay, Mr. Jacob, I had a quick question. Is that right?
Just my comments previously for the other action item for this one as well. If we could just do the same
Include
thing,
that.
that'd be great. I'd love to I just love to have that base information of what we're purchasing, so that when I'm out there, I can talk about it to the community.
Absolutely.
Sound good?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation, for the information. Okay.
Vote. We have vote.
We got a motion on the floor.
Yeah, we have a motion on the floor, second and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. And on to agenda item E, authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to award a contract for transit advertising to Direct Media USA in the amount of revenue no less than $1,966,608 for the first 3 years and total revenue of no less than $3,413,273 for the 3 base years and 2 one-year options. And we have our CEO, Ms. Egan, to discuss this.
And to address this item, Steve Rosenstock, our Senior Manager of Marketing, is at the podium.
Yes. We are very, very, very excited to bring this to you. Our 5-year contract, our 3-year base and 2-year contract options expiring the end of April. So we went out with an RFP for new transit advertising. And over a 5-year period, we increased the revenue by $1.4 million, which is over $250,000 minimum guarantee per year over the next 5 years. So we're very excited about that. Besides that, cash flow. As far as cash flow, at the end of the year, we used to get minimum monthly guarantees, revenue for the year, and then at the end of the year that we would true up, whether or not it would be above the minimum, and we'd get 60% of that, the difference. This year, we are going to be doing it on a 3-month basis, not a 6-month basis, so the cash flow will be much better towards the agency. Another exciting part is that in the industry, it's standard for space for HART or any agency to get 60% of the net revenue of space. We're going to be able to get 63%. So the percent of revenue went up as well. And then also what's different about this contract is last contract just was revenue vehicles. And this one that we are including, and again for the future, any other type of vehicle, like it's such that we should have electric shuttles, or electric golf carts, or just anything something that would become new. Our last one would not let us do that. And we'd have to go out for another RFP or a contract modification, where this one will do for the future. This one also includes on HART properties. In many larger agencies, you will see things in larger, such as, for example, footprint appliques. This allows them to put anything on the building or on the sidewalks that HART owns, and also an MTC. So that's added revenue, and also naming rights and sponsorships. So this one includes a lot more, and we're very, very excited that that we were able to get this in the contract.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, question, Ms. Shanahan?
Did you say that the increase in revenue over the first 3 years of the contract, or the 5 years of the contract, is 1.5 million over last time? So last time it's 1.9 million. So the last contract was only a $500,000 revenue to HART?
The base last time for the 3 years was 1.195. The base of this one is 1.9 or 2. There's a 770,000.
I thought you
Over
said
the 3 year.
1.9. Okay.
Over the 5 year, it's 1.4.
Yeah. Great. That's great.
Any other questions?
Can I ask one? I'm
sure.
sorry.
Ms. Shanahan.
Just so what if they exceeded that? Like, what if they came in? I mean, do we put a lid on it in a way that, I mean, because in 5 years, advertising, I mean, look how much it's changed, month to month now. So So would there be a way is there a way under the contract to incent their behavior that, what if they come back to 2.5 million of revenue? I mean,
What happens is that above the minimum guarantee, we would still get 63% of that difference.
okay, so they're
so there
incented
is-
to do revenue because that's what their model is, and, okay, good, that's
Correct.
good.
Yes, with all
Mr.
the
Bowers,
yeah, with all the extensions that we have with this contract, are the prohibitions still in place of certain kind of advertising that we do not allow?
Yes, sir. That's set by a HART board policy, and that requires a board vote to modify.
Any other questions?
Move approval.
Okay, second. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. And with that, thank you, Mr. Rosenstock, and thank everyone for coming today. We really appreciate it. And I want to thank staff for all their efforts in preparing this. And this meeting is, unless there's anything else, sure, Mr. Jacob.
Being a man of opportunity, since we have Mr. Burns here, and this committee is about administration and operations, do you have an update on the build out of the space in Ybor City for us, Al?
Good morning again, Mr. Chair. Al Burns, Director of Procurement and Contracts Administration. It's funny you asked that question because before this meeting, I drove by. I just left the Ybor renovation, and I'm very, very pleased. I have photos I could share afterwards. I wasn't anticipating this. They've installed the ceiling. They have new carpet installed, and the painting has begun. There is an issue that I have come across. It's a Buy America issue, and I've asked to speak to General Counsel and Council about this issue, and I'll be more than happy to update the board at the next meeting. But other than that, everything's going according to the revised schedule, and we've already started the planning part for moving staff from its temporary location to 7th Avenue. So it looks really great, and I'll be happy to share pictures with you afterwards.
Thank you, Mr. Burns, for the update. Anything else? Anyone? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.